So in this lecture we will be going through the another type of a protocol in concurrent execution 2PL protocol. So expansion two-phase locking protocol. So in 2PL protocol, before going to the example, there are two certain things that you need to be taken in your mind. In 2PL we are having two kind of phases, growing phase and shrinking phase. So in growing phase, which means the lock, it will attain a lock but it won't release that particular lock. Suppose if A is under shared lock or if it is an exclusive or shared lock, it will obtain that lock but it won't release. That is what we call it as a growing phase. Now in shrinking phase it is just opposite, which means it will release the lock but it won't obtain it. Which means if A was under the shared lock or exclusive lock, it will release that lock but it won't obtain any new lock. So that is the difference between growing phase and shrinking phase. Now let's go back with the example. So here in a schedule I am having two transactions. I named it as T3 and T4. So here see, I am going to work with two datas. My data is B and my data is A. So two datas I am going to work with. So here see, lock X of B, which means B is under exclusive lock. Now some read operations and some ALU operations, write operations are happening. But see, in this particular period of time, we can't see any kind of unlock procedure is happening over there. After that, it directly went to the data called A. See, when you only consider the transaction 3, I'm talking about transaction 3, here when B was under the exclusive lock in this particular period of time, you are not seeing any unlock operations. So after that it directly went with the data called A. So A was under the exclusive lock, and then it accessed the data, some operations being performed, some manipulations of data is being performed. So from this stage, from this to this stage, we call it as a growing phase, because we can't see any statement of, because B is not getting unlocked here and A is also not getting unlocked on here. So which means this is perfectly a growing phase. Now when we call it as a shrinking phase, see here in the last set of this transaction we can see two statements, unlock of B and unlock of A. So here these two statements we call it as a shrinking phase, because shrinking phase means it will release the lock but it will never obtain a new lock. So here it is not obtaining any new lock, instead it is only releasing that previous lock which was kept on B and A. So this is a shrinking phase and this is a growing phase. Now go towards transaction 4. Here also see, I am going to work with two datas A and B. So here from here to this part to this, see A is on shared lock and here B is also on shared lock. So after this particular statement we can't see any unlock statement over here. So after A it is directly going towards the data B, which means from this part to this part we call it as a growing phase. Then after all the operations, only the unlock operation is being performed on A and B, which makes my shrinking phase. So first, before you study what is a two-phase locking protocol, you need to know what is a growing phase and shrinking phase. So growing phase means attaining the lock but it won't release. Shrinking phase means it will release the previous lock but it won't obtain any new locks. Now let's see one example if a particular transaction is not in a 2PL. So here see, when in this particular period of time it is working with the data B. So here when you observe this particular transaction, it is under exclusive lock. After that we have accessed the data, some basic ALU operations is being performed, I manipulate the data. After that straightly it went towards unlock operation, which is not in a 2PL, because in this particular period of time after the write operation unlocked is being performed, which is not in a 2PL. Same example here also, in A after ALU operations is being done, unlock of A is getting happened, which is not in a 2PL. Now one more thing that we need to know regarding the 2PL protocol, upgrade lock and downgrade. So upgrade means, suppose if my current transaction or a current lock is on shared lock. So shared lock means if the data is under shared lock, other transactions would not be able to manipulate. But in some scenarios, if some other transaction needs to manipulate the data, that existing lock need to be upgraded to exclusive lock. So converting from shared lock to exclusive lock, we call it as a upgrade lock, which means I'm upgrading from the shared, which means S of my data, to the X of the data, which means exclusive. So generally we call it as a upgrade lock. Then downgrade is just opposite to the upgrade lock. So suppose if my data is under exclusive lock, if other transaction only need to access the data, we need to switch it back, which means converting from exclusive lock to shared lock is what we call it as a downgrade lock. And also we are having a lot of problems with 2PL, because when we analyze this particular example, see, in this particular example that in this time period, see, it is not getting unlocked, but at the same time T4 is accessing the data, which should not be happening. So actually 2PL is a problem basically, because in this example, when you see in this particular period of time, B is getting manipulated, but at the same time T4 is trying to access the data, which should not be happening. So on the next video, we will be discussing the problems which are arising in the 2PL protocol.